What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another animation analysis of Honkai Impact Third. It has been way too long since I last did one of these. I've had a lot in the way. It's been a busy month. I'm restructuring things in this studio to be an actual studio environment. It's been a while, and I haven't really had much time to get to it. But here we are, Meteoric Salvation. I'm not going to delay this any further. Let's get right into it, shall we? Let's go! Ooh. All right, Mirror's Edge, chill out. I just got here. Beautiful attention to detail on the body mechanics. Doing this like exaggerated free running stuff is very difficult to get looking correct and not looking just ridiculous, you know? Making sure you keep that sense of weight. That's important. Gotta have the boobs. Wouldn't be a Honkai video without the tits. Batter up. You know, I really miss playing TF2. I know I'm kind of clowning on it, but there's some great animation here. I can't wait to talk about some of these shots. I figured this one would be a really eventful analysis because there's so many shots in this one. It's such a long video compared to the recent ones. Ooh.
Kiana.
There's that damn song again. Ooh. Ooh, ooh. Oh, that was really neat. I really like that. Okay. All right. God, they put so much effort into that sequence. Ooh. Beautiful cityscape. Could notice some distorting on that cityscape. They probably drew it or placed it in some sort of like a spheroid shape to make it kind of warp around the corners. This visual aesthetic is really cool. All the pieces floating up. All the grayscale. I feel like there's something big about to come. Maybe? Definitely feels like a build-up to something. Ooh, okay. Not the type of big I was expecting, but I like that. Great use of the impact. Respectable. I wasn't sure if they were going to do like a big explosion or something, or like have some other large impact, but that was impactful. Having all the lights come on like that. All right, not watching that one again. I've already done a video on this one. All right, so right off the bat, we have a great example of body mechanics here. Basically, this entire sequence of her doing this free running, even though it's extremely over the top, like I mentioned, is very well done in order to get the body mechanics to work with the motion she's doing. They must have watched a lot of like reference videos and followed a lot of proper visuals on how to do these sorts of moves, and then just kind of made them exaggerated, as one does for an animation like this when you're trying to make the character seem more powerful than the standard human. This is very accurate, having the limbs all kind of tuck forward. You kind of get this shape with the body as somebody would be trying to land, because you have to counterbalance when you hit. You have to be able to push or be able to rotate your body forward. You have to have this sort of a shape when you're doing a long jump like that. It's the same reason they do that sort of shape in Olympic long jumping. Very similar concept there, in order to get the body's momentum going as efficiently as you can forward while not losing any of that momentum. Going into this like pike formation is pretty important, and I really like that they actually did that instead of just having them like do the standard like arm flailing. Like, whoa, that's more what you would do if a character isn't fully comfortable or aware of how to do these sorts of things. I mention it a lot, but an absolutely fantastic film to watch for that sort of thing is the Into the Spider-Verse movie. That movie is so good at that. They even utilize different frame rates in that movie to show the lack of matching with the more fluid motion of the other Peter while they're learning how to do things, while Miles is trying to figure out how to be Spider-Man. This is great that they utilized a very clear motion and something that is body mechanics wise very accurate, because this character is a professional, so to speak. So it's nice seeing that sort of attention to detail. I really do appreciate that. I'm not going to focus on every single time that she jumps or rolls in this sequence. I just wanted to talk about the sequence as a whole, and this first shot happened to be a really good example of that exact visual distinction that I was talking about between being an amateur and being a pro. I'm not really going to stop on this. I just want to reframe this sequence. This has some beautiful body mechanics stuff, as well as the camera following through like that through the back of the head, keeping track with the character, having it just feel different enough you feel like you're the drone following her around. And there's just a lot of really fun visuals to this that make it feel like such a satisfying sequence. There's a lot of general stuff being done with her motion and the bat and utilizing the environment. That's just all really good. I'm not going to focus too much on any individual part because there's not really anything I can add that I haven't said in prior videos. But all in all, I just really like how well they handled that sequence. And it's one of the like big three, I would say. There's a few really good sequences in here, and that's definitely one of them. I also wanted to highlight that they're changing the expression for this character while she's being chased and everything. Like, I do appreciate that they did it in sections where you really don't even need to. Like right here, she's looking back, and that's fine. But then you see this grimace on her face again, like she's actually reacting to these things, and that's nice instead of just keeping her mouth closed and flat without showing teeth. That sort of thing changes the expression a lot, and I'm really appreciative that they're putting in just a little bit extra, like a 5% boost to what they could have done, and what still would have worked. Just having her mouth closed would have been fine. But I really do appreciate that they're putting in that much work just to make the expressions just a little bit more exaggerated. And just a small thing here, it's not a big deal, this is totally nitpicky, but something I personally would have done on this shot here if I were handed it, with this explosion going on and the character sliding out of the explosion, and there's not really any trail to her leaving this explosion. She has these like wisps of air around her. You can kind of see the like little flecks of air around her body throughout this leaving sequence where she's trying to get out of this explosion. But personally, if I were taking this shot, I would have had some of that explosion trail out with her, even beyond here. Like right here, there would probably be like flecks of the explosion kind of coming in around her and just kind of trying to wrap her back into it, because that's how smoke works. It would kind of follow you through. If you're going in one direction and there's smoke behind you, as you come out of it, it would kind of grab onto the back of your body and follow you through it. Again, super small detail, really doesn't ruin the shot at all, but it's something that I personally would have done if that were my shot. It adds a little bit more urgency to that escape factor and the fact that it makes her look like she just got out of there a little bit more, instead of feeling like she phased through it without any real repercussions, you know? I'm only pointing out this sequence because I really like the lighting on her limbs here. Her hair has it as well. This soft lighting is like perfectly soft. It is so supple. It's got just enough of an inner halo to that glow. It feels so good. It's through every single frame of this too. Like, it's not just the one. It looks that good, and it fades out, and it's following all of the like natural bends in the arm's anatomy. Like everywhere there would be a knuckle or a bone exposed to the outside of the arm, it's following the knuckles in the wrist, the elbow. It has all of those formations in that light. And that means somebody really cares about this shot, really cared about how the light looked, and paid extra attention to make sure that it landed on her correctly. But it looks so beautiful. I'm not even mad. Like, screw the tiny things. That lighting is so beautiful on just that section. It's ridiculous. I'm getting so excited over some small lighting that was done on an arm mostly, but God, that looks good, especially that hand that I just circled. The knuckle detail, the amount of deformation in the light on her hand, the way it just scatters out and changes around those ridges. It feels so well rendered. For something that has otherwise had pretty flat and basic lighting on it, having this really soft, warm light on it, just kind of caressing every little tiny crevice of the arm, is really nice. It's just, it grabbed my attention immediately. You may have thought, oh, that was a cool camera angle. Oh, it's the swing he's excited about. No, it was the lighting on the hand immediately. That was so pretty. I removed my face cam here so you can see what I'm talking about, because it's going to be talking about this leg right here. But this leg utilizes overshoot, one of the 12 principles of animation. And it's fairly subtle, but it looks kind of goofy when you pause it. But right there, that was it. It's just a little bit. Overshoot is very subtle sometimes and very excessive other times, purely because sometimes you don't need that much, and in this case is one of those. Usually when you see it overdone, it's stuff like the old Looney Tunes cartoons and stuff like that, where the characters really stretch out when they're trying to jump or something. But this is a really neat one because if you watch this leg again, as I get right here, her leg is suddenly like notably longer. It's probably, I would say, maybe another 4 to 6 inches longer than it was before. And then it kind of snaps back and she turns in and does her kick there. But that's just a cool example of overshoot. Usually these things are felt more than noticed because they're so subtle, but that's exactly the point. You don't want them to be too over the top because then it would look too ridiculous. Sometimes a little bit extra is all you need to sell a shot. All right, so you know what time it is. It is this channel. We have to talk about the impact frames. So this one was really nice to me. It was really quick. It was really aggressive. It didn't linger on any frames. It didn't have to. It went in, it happened, it got out. But there are so many individual frames on this one that I wanted to just go through it frame by frame and show you each one. There's kind of the first one. These like sparks also count. You can see the spikes happening in the background basically immediately. But this is the first like true impact frame, I would say. And then the full black screen, and then it comes back after 2 frames, and then you have another more aggressive shot of the arms, and then it changes scene, and then you get this beautiful couple of frames here. Just amazing, amazing technique on this one. This sweep followed by this upwards energy shoot, changing and whipping that electricity and all of that energy up and out of the way is just, oh, it's so good. This one is beautiful. I love this so much. And then you have whatever's happening here. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with all these rings of Saturn happening, but I like that they treated these with the motion blur on the edges and kind of made them feel in a way like their own impact frames at a distance. That's kind of a neat aesthetic to use. I have never really thought about doing that sort of thing, utilizing something in the distance that you know is kind of doing the same thing that an impact would, but not turning the whole frame into an impact, just kind of shaking things around and making these motion edges more prominent in order to follow the motion of where they're going. You see that more, but at that scale, not so much. Usually those are really close in and more detailed shots. That was a very broad shot to do that sort of thing with. And on this shot, a small detail that I really like is that they have this shockwave going through all of the clouds in this shot, like showing that sense of scale where they are in the stratosphere is kind of neat. It's a very subtle little detail, one of those things that you didn't have to do and you did, and I really do appreciate those sorts of things because they just help sell the shot a little bit more. I've looked through this specific establishing shot a couple of times now. I was looking through frame by frame, I was looking through at full speed, forward, backwards, and I'm pretty confident that I was correct during the reaction when I said this is probably just a matte painting, kind of skewed in some way, shape, or form. Like either the perspective was drawn to kind of be distorted in order to make the whole picture work better in camera, because then you can place the camera on top of it and rotate it up and down on an axis, and just it makes the whole place feel a little bit more 3D, even though it is drawn in 2D. You kind of utilize that perspective to abuse what the human mind is expecting to see, and it creates kind of a parallax effect on the rest of the image. And while this could be CG, I do not believe it is. Just based on the lighting, it feels like it was digitally painted. There are quite a few ways that something like this can be done, but I'm going to go with it was probably digitally painted with a perspective shift in order to make sure that the camera being used on a tilt would feel very nice to look at. That's been a tried and true method for decades of animation, and I don't see it going away anytime soon because it's so well proven. It works every time, and it looks beautiful with all that detail. It's just so good. And just to point out something, just to be a little stinker here at the end, this sequence has a mistake. If you were being picky, this is a mistake. If you're not being picky, it doesn't matter at all, but I'm going to ruin it for you anyway. So this sequence, when she's going through here and the lights all turn on here, wow, pretty, looks great. She's not in the same position. The camera is off from the prior shot. It's a different perspective as a result. They didn't either get the camera back in the same place for the second take of this shot or something to that effect. They might have had to adjust something and couldn't quite find the right location for the camera again. Even though the cameras in CG are basically math, they probably could have found the exact same shot. I'm kind of confused why, but between here and here, you can see her change, especially if you watch her head and the location of the line in her head, and then boom. You know, like it's a subtle change, but it's enough of one, seeing that she suddenly grows like 2 inches, that you can tell that it's just a slightly different shot composition, which I'm not sure why exactly that happened again. I feel like they probably could have had the exact same shot and just replaced whatever asset is underneath her, or how I probably would have done it, taken everything in the foreground, the floor she's standing on, and her standing there, rendered that out separately, and then have a different pass of the buildings in the background. And that way you don't lose the perspective as the camera pulls back and the light triggers. You don't lose that a little bit of momentum that happens when the character slightly changes her location. Again, super small, but it is noticeable, and my eye picked it up the first time watching it, so I'm sure somebody else noticed. But again, as well, super small, and people with eyes like mine really can't enjoy animation the same way that people who aren't animators get to, because we see crap like that all the time. That doesn't mean it's a bad project. It doesn't mean it's a bad shot. It was very well done, and it has a good impact. But I'm really confused at what led them to have that issue with this shot, because it feels like it could have totally been avoided just by changing how it was approached, you know? Something super small. But that's pretty much it. Sorry again for this taking so long to get to. As I mentioned earlier, a lot's been going on recently, and these videos take a lot to edit, so it'll probably be another hot minute before I get to another one, probably after the end of the month, but I will be doing more, don't worry. These Honkai animation reactions and breakdowns, these analytic videos aren't going anywhere. They just take significantly longer than the usual video, so I have to pick and choose when and where to do them, whereas the music ones I do are a lot easier to approach and quicker to edit and get out there. But if you want to see me touch on another series or another game that has good cinematics and you want to hear me analyze those and break those down, let me know what I should watch and give a shot in the future. These Honkai ones will of course be going through as planned. I've always planned to kind of finish off these main storyline ones, but if there's another series you want me to give a shot, let me know what they are and I will do my best. But otherwise, if you just want to follow me and support me as time goes on, you know how to do all that, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!